Okay, today we will finish Siman Taf Reish Mem Gimel, which is going to discuss when we should actually recite the beracha. Beracha ta Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddush Hashem v'sav v'tivanu, layshev basuka. The Shulchan Aruch begins by saying, Bishar Yamim, on other days, Mevarach ala sukkah koidim birchas hamotzi. Meaning, when we have Kiddush on Yom Tov itself, we say layshev basuka as we learned. We say it at Kiddush time, right? That's what we learned last few sessions. Say towards the end of Kiddush. The question is, when do we say layshev besuka when we're not making Kiddush during the week? So on other days, mevarach ala sukkah koidim birchas hamotzi. So the Shulchan Aruch quotes an opinion. This is the Mama Rutenberg, quoted by the Torah as well, that we say the beracha of layshev besuka before we recite the beracha of hamotzi lechem haaretz, or boray mizonos. However, the Shulchan Aruch himself then proceeds to quote the Rosh, which also the Torah quotes, the Torah's father, the Rosh, and says that the custom is actually to say layshev besuka after the beracha on the food. The custom is to make the beracha of layshev besuka after the beracha of hamotzi. Hodim shiyitom, before you taste. Hachi no hagim b'chol. That's the custom during a weekday, b'chol moed, rather. But on Shabbos and Yom Tov, where there's a Kiddush, so then you should make the beracha of layshev besuka after Kiddush, as we learned yesterday, and we learned last session exactly when to say the layshev besuka during Kiddush. Just to remind ourselves briefly of what we did yesterday, in case anyone forgot, we say the beracha of hagafen, then we say Kiddush, then we say layshev besuka, then we say shachian. That's what we learned yesterday. If you make Kiddush in your house, besuka, and you're eating in the sukkah, or vice versa, look earlier in Hilchos Kiddush, Reish Ayin Gimel. Siman Reish Ayin Gimel. Mishnah Berurah says other days involve Rotalomar, meaning to say to be Yom Tov Alom Avur Leel Sif Aleph Yayin Kiddush Sukkah. And Yom Tov itself, we learned earlier, as we just referenced, you say the beracha of hagafen, then you say Kiddush, then you say the beracha of layshev besuka. And we explained over there, Tamadavar, what's the reason for this matter? It's impossible to make the beracha of layshev besuka before Kiddush during the day. Ayin Sham, see over there for more details. However, on other days where there's no Kiddush, however, on other days where there is no Kiddush, so the Shulchan Aruch holds that you need to say the beracha of layshev besuka before the beracha of hamotzi. That is the opinion of Rabbi Meir Rutenberg. The Mashin is chayav techila take up shenichnas v'yashabat liso sudaso. The ba, because with that nischayiv techila, you're obligated first, originally, taketh immediately. Shenichnas v'yashiv ba liso sudaso, immediately when you enter in to sit there to have your meal. In other words, other days where there's no Kiddush, this is your obligation. So therefore you should say layshev besuka first. And it is fitting to put the bracha next to when you're going to sit or be in the sukkah as possible it is. So therefore you should do it immediately. But the custom is not this way. We rather do it after we say our bracha rishona, such as the bracha of hamotzi or boray mizonos. Next, Mishnah Berurah Zayin, Acher birchas hamotzi, Kadei sheyaschel besuda dal yodahu ikir chiyav besuka. In order that we begin the meal, because through that is the main obligation of sukkah. V'acher kach yavarach, and then afterwards you recite the bracha of layshev besuka. Below we have say bein birchas hamotzi la'achila, and you say this. It's not an interruption between the recitation of the bracha of hamotzi and eating. because this is considered needs for the meal, similar to Kiddush. Similar if you forgot to feed your animal, you say Gvil Torah, you feed the animal first, the animal would take precedence. So too over here. That's only you should verbally say feed the animal if you can't hint it or just do it yourself. So then you actually need to say it, but preferably you shouldn't say it as a side point. However, on Shabbos and Yom Tov, Mishnah Berurah Ches, Perush, Sha'az Mekadesh al Hayayin v'omer al Kol Sukkah Uzman Kidulal. Explanation of this is that then you are saying Kiddush on the wine, and you say on the Vomer al Kos, you say on the cup of wine, the beracha of layshev besuka and shechianu. V'acher kach hamotzi ala pasta. And afterwards you say hamotzi on bread. So therefore you would just do it in Kiddush, and this discussion would not apply then. Next, Mr. Berurah test mevarach la'acher Kiddush. You say the beracha after Kiddush of layshev besuka. The az whose man has chalos asuda, because that is the halachic beginning of the meal. To be called in Rosh Hashanah, because before you say Kiddush, you're not allowed to eat. It makes sense to make the bracha of layshev besuka then. Now regarding the meal on Shabbos and Yom Tov, okay, in the morning, where there's no Kiddush, there's only one bracha that we say. The whole Kiddush, doesn't matter how many paragraphs before Kiddush a person inserts. The whole Kiddush is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, boray hagafen, finished. Okay. So, yeah, we learned about that in Elchus Kiddush, right? Yeah. So, you have an issue over here, because it's only one bracha. So the question is, do you say layshev besuka by the Kiddush or not over there? And do you do it before or after? I mean, it's one we've been learning. You would probably do it after the beracha boray hagafen, but do you do it during that Kiddush or not? The Kiddush is commonly referred to as Kiddush Rabbah, which is the big Kiddush. The big Kiddush. It's a euphemism. No. It's a euphemism because it's a very small Kiddush. The whole Kiddush is just beracha Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam boray hagafen. So the question is, what do you do over there for this Kiddush? When you do Shabbos v'Yom Tov Shachar Shemim Kiddush Rak Bracha Ba'alma Alakois Yirdeach Ben Achronim. There are different opinions what to do. Yesh Armim Debazeh In Kedai Lahafsik B'Bircha Sukkah Ben Bracha Le'Ashtia. Some say that it is not worthwhile to interrupt with the bracha of layshev besuka between the bracha and the drinking. Some say that you shouldn't do this. This is a question that I threw out when we started the Siman, and everyone said you do it by Kiddush. Not so simple, because some say you shouldn't interrupt between the bracha of boray hagafen and the drinking of the wine with the layshev besuka. Because on drinking, there's no obligation of being in the sukkah. Technically speaking, this is a major discussion in itself, which we're not learning now, but one day we will learn in Siman Tafresh Lamed Tes what the halachas are original recordings from Rabban.com, where we did discuss this, and it's not so simple at all. But the general halacha is that you wouldn't say a layshev on it. Eliyavarach oiso acher birch samotzi. Rather, you should recite the layshev besuka after the bracha of hamotzi. In that case, this is according to one opinion. The minhagenu, according to our custom, but some say that also in this case. Since you are preparing yourself with this Kiddush to eat, you should recite the bracha of layshev besuka before you taste the wine from the kos, and therefore you say boray hagafen, and then you say layshev besuka. How do we hold? Says the Mishnah Berurah, if you did like Master, you did. If you did like Master, you did, which means you could do whatever you want. Both are legitimate customs.
Has the Rabbi ever seen anybody do it the other way? That they don't?
Yes.
They wait till.
Yes, I've seen it.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Till hamotzi. Yep. This is only talking about if you're going to wash afterwards to eat your meal. However, aval so if right now you don't want to have a meal, rak mavarach alakos, you're just making the bracha on the cup of wine. Pas kissin, and afterwards you're eating mazonos, you're eating some cake, cookies. Kiddush of makom, so that the Kiddush will be considered to be in the place of the meal, which, as we learned before, Kiddush can only be said where the meal is going to be. So even though this isn't a full meal, it's considered nevertheless halachically some sort of meal to have the mizonos items such as the cake or the cookies. And therefore, in that case, in that case, the Shari Tshuva says that everyone will agree that you should make the layshev besuka before you taste from the wine from the cup. I feel like a lot of people might not even realize this. But look, if you're going to say the layshev after, so yeah, the people just mess up with this up Mizona sometimes. If you're making Kiddush and just having Mizonos after, you should be careful. You should say the layshev besuka before you drink from the yain. Important halacha.
Or why is it in
Not after the Brayman and Mizonos, but before you eat.
If you are being Yosef Kiddush with somebody making Kiddush for the shul Kiddush, let's say, right? So he's going ahead and he's saying the layshev on his yayin.
Yeah.
So the two scenarios: if you drink the wine with him, then you'd be Yotze with his layshev.
It's really, isn't it better not to make your own? I mean, it's better to make your own, right? Obviously.
There's different customs in general when it comes to making Kiddush or not. I feel like in most of our Ashkenaz communities, just one person makes Kiddush and everyone fills the obligation with them. Layshev, you also fill your obligation with that.
With him.
With that.
But you'd have to drink the wine with him, right?
No.
So you'd be Yotze his layshev.
Yeah, and then after you have the mizonos,
you'd have to make a layshev.
No. Hasidim in general are much more into everyone saying their own beracha. On Kiddush, on Hamotzi, they're very into it.
So why does that hold Rabbi?
Right. There's a lot of questions on it. I mean, it's not uncommon to see someone who's Hasidish after the bread, the challah is distributed to everyone. He makes his own Hamotzi right then and there. They hold that you're still covered with lechem mishnah, lechem shalom, with the mavarach, with the person who made the beracha before, but it's just better to make your own beracha. That's what they hold. So we don't really do that. So, David, did you want to say something else?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I just wanted to end the Siman by quoting the Dershu. I have a long footnote towards the end of the Siman, footnote 10. Let's start with footnote 9, rather. From Moshe Feinstein, they quote in the Shmaisa de Moshe, as well as Shmuas Moshe on the Siman, as well as they quote Yosef Shalom Eliyashuv in the Asher Yishcheli Gimel Pericha Vav Oz Tez Zayin, who had the custom to recite the beracha of layshev besuka after boray hagafen during Kiddush. So that's who they quote, just for Feinstein Rabbi Eliyashuv.
It is by their main meal we're talking.
Yeah, Kiddush.
By Kiddush, they would say the layshev, they wouldn't wait.
They wouldn't wait for Hamotzi. They did it by Kiddush. All right? Even during the morning, obviously, we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. That's the Kiddush. At night, it wouldn't be an insight. Everyone does it at night. Yeah. In footnote 10, they talk about, let's say your sukkah is detached from your house. Now you need to go out from your sukkah and go back in your house in order to wash. That could cause that the Kiddush is not going to be in the place where your meal is, so to say. Because you sever that connection. It's like an interruption when you leave your house. But you wouldn't need to make another Kiddush. If you already did it, you wouldn't need to make another Kiddush. But it's very well halachically an issue. So the Sefer Sukkah Kehalchasa. So the Sefer Sukkah Kehalchasa, Beraches Osvav, says that the tactic, what you should do over here, is you should eat a little mazono, such as cake or cookies, after you recite Kiddush, before you leave the sukkah. Or you should do what the Mishnah Brura suggests, that you should, and this answer I like a lot more, because that answer you're really potentially causing a bracha she'eina sricha, an unnecessary bracha. So that approach I don't like so much. You could do what the Mishnah Brura recommends, who says that in a pressing situation, basically you could drink a revius of wine during Kiddush. That's going to be like the size of 2 shot glasses. And therefore, it will be considered that you established a location where you're going to have your meal, so to say, by drinking a significant amount of wine, or what we call Kiddush b'makom suda. Another tactic that you could do, which I don't like this so much either, because we never really do this, even though it's explicit in the Ramah, Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, only the Yakis do this. You could wash your hands before Kiddush, and then do Kiddush, and then jump right into Hamotzi. So I don't like that one either. I like just drinking the revius of Yayin as the best one, or bringing a basin into the sukkah to wash in the sukkah, a big bowl, and a washing cup with the pitcher to refill the washing cup and just wash in the sukkah. That's the best thing, and as we learned, that's always the best to do anyways. Wash in the room where you're where you make Kiddush. That's always the best thing. That's what we do at home.
If you're on the ground, right? If you're on
No, so I said you have a big bowl.
No, big bowl. I understand.
So big bowl, yeah.
Just
okay. Learning about the ground, that's already something else, and we could learn about that another time. If it's a big crowd, it's not so practical to do, but that's why you could come on to the drinking the revius of wine, which is going to be around 2 small shot glasses, that quantity. However, if you do see from the sukkah the place in the house that you're going into, so the beracha is already lenient that that could be considered that you made Kiddush. It's not considered an interruption in the place of where your meal is going to be.
Is this
when you have intention to do that?
This is applicable all the time, right? It's better to see where you wash. See what you're washing.
Yeah, but especially the sukkah, it's more of a shiloh because it's a different area. It's out of the house.
So is this thing that we're talking about, is it the Rabbanan Dikadin that you could be somech on the 2.9 or ounces?
Yeah, I mean during the day it's not a deraisa.
I'm sorry, during the day it's not deraisa.
Like fluid ounces or time now.
And this is all relevant to have we really brought up Havdalah yet or not? That's a different Siman.
Havdalah, we're not discussing Havdalah at all. That's gonna come up in Taf Reish Lamed Tes.
But why isn't it? But why isn't it? It's not. Does it? It doesn't reference Havdalah at all, or no?
No, we're not talking about Havdalah. We're only dealing with Kiddush right now. We're talking about Kiddush Makom Suda, where the meal is going to be. Nothing to do with Havdalah.
Seems like it's going to be very relevant for Havdalah because you don't have you only have the revius. You don't have all right.
Another something else to rely on over here is if you left someone else in the sukkah who was there until you return. So according to Chaim of Eliyashuv, the Shal's Jewish Rabbeinu Yosef in Slotsk, the end of Siman Zion, that is considered like you didn't leave your place, and you wouldn't need to make another Kiddush over there. So you have some leniencies. There's really Reish Ayin Gimel discussion or Kof Ayin Ches discussion, but this is the basic idea over here.
Both applicable all the time.
It gets more lenient over here if you have like a sukkah in your house. Sometimes they just open up the ceiling, and the sukkah's there. Obviously, there would be much less of a halachic issue at all. Or if the sukkah is actually attached to the house, even if you didn't have the intention to go back and forth, which obviously you do always have the intention, you could also be lenient on that. And that's the Siman. Any questions on the Siman?
That halacha we just said about someone being at the Suda, being at the table.
Yeah.
That's applicable all the time, right? For anytime you get up from a Shabbos table.
Yes, that's definitely something that could be used in many situations. It's explicit in the Gemara and Pesachim as well, and in Siman Kof Ayin Ches. But depends on different scenarios, and you have to assess each case individually with all the factors and halachas. But yeah, it's a concept. It's brought down. Okay, so we're going to stop this Siman here.